climbing tall mountains is an obviously dangerous recreation. Its enthusiasts must watch out for the cold, strong winds, icicles, the birds, conveyor belts, yetis, polar bears wearing sunglasses and pink Speedos? Wait. Ah, that's right, I'm thinking of the NES game Ice Climber. Yeah, you know them. Those people from Smash? Popo and Nana? Or Nana, whichever you prefer, though Nana makes me think of some dude's grandma. So here's a question, then who in the hell is this person on the cover? Looks like Santa with jet black hair. Maybe he was having a midlife crisis. Anyways, originally Ice Climber came out in the arcades as Versus Ice Climber. Ironic since they were always portrayed as a duo. Then that port went into this port, then this port became that port, then you had this thing, and maybe this thing. Well, you get it. It's basically all the same game. So here we are on the NES. You can choose from 1 or 2 players and also whatever level you want. What's the last level, 32? So you can just select the final level before you even play the game. The arcade also did that. That's pretty weird. Well, let's start off on good old level 1. Okay, so there's no story, no context, but the first thing you see is a pterodactyl carry away an eggplant. An eggplant with human eyes? And? Not like I care about him, you can have him. Apparently it's not a pterodactyl. The manual says it's a condor, which is basically a vulture. Yeah, that's definitely what that thing looks like. The controls are pretty simple. You can move, jump, and swing your mallet. You think Popo or whatever here would carry an ice axe, or maybe even a gun, but nah, he's got a mallet. So we have to go and teach that vulture a lesson. To do that, we have to jump head first into these layers of rock and ice and climb up. This begs the question, are we inside a mountain or on the outside? On the way, you have to watch out for yetis, also known as topies. If they touch you, you'll die, but they also have a secondary ability of filling in any holes you leave behind, or in front of you. Strangely enough, on the Famicom, it wasn't always yetis, instead it was seals, which sadly means you do have to club seals. Interesting note about topies is that when you whack them, they just dizzily spin back to the sides of the screen, but they return. If you trap them between 2 different pits, they'll fall to their doom, and yet they still resurrect. Get to the 8th floor and it'll convert into a bonus stage. Not more eggplants. Make your way through a series of tricky jumps to the summit, all with a countdown, and there you'll find the bird, without the eggplant. To complete the level, you have to grab onto the condor's legs. I don't really get that. Your score is then tallied where everything from blocks to those random eggplants count, and if you manage to grab onto the bird in time, Popo will be very excited. If not, he'll be bursting into tears. Starting off on level 2, you'll come face to face with a bird. My bad, a nitpicker? At least it actually looks like a bird this time. You can kill them by jumping upwards into them. You'll also find a cloud platform and icicles which constantly drop. I'm sure you can guess what happens if one of those hits you. Get to the end, collect some carrots with eyes, then move on to level 3, where you'll be introduced to some new entities such as indestructible walls and conveyor belts. And here's where you start noticing something truly atrocious with this game. The jumping in Ice Climber isn't like most 2D platformers. First, you can hardly control yourself mid-jump. Wherever you went is where you're going. Second, the hit detection is non-existent. I can't tell you how many times I've seemingly passed through solid matter like Danny Phantom. It really gets annoying later on when you're battling enemies and trying to make tricky jumps off of clouds going light speed. Take too long planning your jumps and a polar bear shows up donning some very impressive apparel. He'll jump once, causing the screen to move up a level, and then he'll run away. No biggie, you can murder him. If you do die in this game by either falling into the black abyss or otherwise, you'll lose a life. You start off with just 3, and you know how many you can get throughout the entire game? 1. That's right. The most lives you can have in this game is 4. Well, how do you get it? Grabbing a piece of corn in one particular level. Just 1. And that's all. After a brutal campaign, you make it to level 32. Oh man. The first obstacle is a cursed combo of lightning fast clouds and conveyor belts. As if it isn't annoying enough, you gotta watch out for birds and yetis. Oh, and a polar bear. Oh, suicide. God, this sucks. This next section is no easier though. You have to stand on a tiny unbreakable conveyor belt bashing away at an unbreakable ceiling. By the time you do get through, a topi comes by and plugs it. After 10 minutes of button mashing, you finally reach the bonus stage. Make your way up, grab the bird, and it's over. But let's see what that ending has to say. Wait, level 1? It loops? It loops forever? Surprisingly, it's actually one of the more expensive NES games, but even though it's annoying, I still had a good time. So, is it worth it?
I mean, it's alright, like...